This is Stacy McKibben with the Master Communicator podcast, where CEOs, senior leaders, and C-suite executives share their advice. It's 6 questions in 9 minutes because the best leaders know how to share their ideas concisely and quickly. Let's jump right in. Question number 1. In a few sentences, tell me who you are and what you do.
My name is Denise Williams. I am president and co-founder of SV-NED, the Silicon Valley Nigeria Economic Development Inc. What we do, we connect startups to venture fund and angel investment funds. And we support the tech community that's looking for employment or that are soliciting help from the general public.
Wow, that's amazing. How long have you been doing that?
We've been in business for about 3 years. We kicked off in 2017. Ideation phase was in 2016, but we launched officially in 2017 and haven't reached 3 countries in 3 years.
Oh my goodness. All right, so lots of good ideas coming from you today. I'm very excited, Denise. Question number 2 for you. What's the best thing about leading people from your perspective?
Everyone wants to see someone that they can identify with and someone that understands the full paradigm. So social economic issues, environmental issues, climate issues, health issues, anyone that's looking towards someone to lead is looking for someone that embodies that cares about those information and those details enough to share leadership advice, influence in the right direction and provide the guidance to help people to a proper resolution.
I love that. Again, that servant leadership idea of being there to support others. Now, here's question number 3 for you. And I'm curious, working with startups and, all different types of people and technology, I often hear from other business leaders that business would be great if it weren't for that whole pesky people part. I'm curious, what are your thoughts on that?
We need people. We love people. We're welcome to the general audience and the public. The work that we do involves interacting with large volume of people. So for me, in terms of designation and territory, I cover California and I cover Nigeria as a whole. So Nigeria has 200 million people and I cover all of California in terms of Silicon Valley specifically. So it's a little size down, but as you magnify into the Nigerian territory, you're looking at interacting between, in our network, about 20 million. So we cascade information down that's relevant to people at ground level, something that would be sufficient to help them grow. So people are very important because they are the creators of good and unique ideas to solve everyday problems. And those are the leaders we're looking for.
That's amazing. Do you find that there's differences culturally as you travel to these different countries? Do you see kind of the work ethic or the people part change, or do you find that there's a pretty consistent commonality?
Political environment does create a economic environment that varies from region to region, but the people themselves, they're the same. So young adults, when they come out of college, they have, they've learned the standard general education. Now, how do you apply that? And I try to tell startups and founders uniquely, whether I'm interfacing with someone that's in Silicon Valley or interfacing with someone that's in Lagos, and it's just saying, how do you solve everyday problems? So for example, given the pandemic era, I focused a lot on tech business. It could be fintech, infotech, HR tech, prior to the pandemic. So then I navigate, within this climate of the pandemic where there's a health issue to my startups that are more focused on solving health problems. These are still the same individuals. Some are interfacing emerging economies in West Africa. And then there are some that are local, that they work within the occupational realm of the United States and understands the laws and policies and may be able to apply it more efficiently. But nonetheless, they start from a ground level of just having ideas and needing investors to support them.
We all put our pants on the same way. Is that what you're telling me?
Absolutely, absolutely.
What other successful business leaders like yourself should be on the podcast, right? I'm thinking about what other community leaders or other voices that you believe people should be paying attention to out there.
I think the younger generation do deserve a platform to speak about, what they think leadership should look like in the future, because it's going to come into play in terms of who are their elected officials. I think once we start to include more able-bodied in terms of even ground level conversation or podcasts about leadership, and we're looking at our youth as leaders, it gives them the confidence to have commentary and opinion about political issues. So that way, when it does impact them at their very young generational age, they understand that their voice mattered before and it does matter after. So I think it's great to have great pillars in our community, seasoned individuals who come from various backgrounds, who can share a general light into a macroeconomic level of what a leader should be and represent. But I think you can find leaders in every corners and walks of life. Again, what I find that represents a great leader is a good listener and someone that does care about pressing issues within the community in which they live and serve. So whether it be projected really far, but it's just understanding, even as a woman, you represent other women, and once you are doing well in your career, you give other people the audacity to, state a claim into their successes in life. And yeah.
Love that. All right, so go check out the CYT Youth Theater. Go check out, Junior Achievement, right? I'm sure there's kids in those different communities that'd be willing to talk and share their ideas, and I like that. I'm going to go maybe search them out that could be guests on the show. What piece of advice about communication would you give to other leaders? If you're thinking about advice, what would you share?
Communication is very key, and I think communication should be reciprocal. I don't think that from a leadership perspective, it should just be about you and, what you're talking about and your opinion and how you personally feel. I think that you should always give your audience and your community an ability to respond. Let's say you're hosting a leadership meeting every week. Or every month, make sure you make room for 10 questions and start with those questions first before you go into, what it is that you feel the organization or business or country or whatever it is should be headed in, because people really want to be heard. And, the political environment, our economic environment, all of that, our health environment, all of that is screaming loudly about how communication isn't quite, going back and forth. I think once we get to a baseline and we start to appreciate the opinions of others and, the echoes and cries of those who really are desperate, and start to care, I think communication can work to the most efficient manner.
I love that. It starts with the caring part, right? You got to put your heart space out there first. All right, magic question number 6. Tell us about your favorite boss or teacher. Who's really influenced you?
I want to say her name, and hopefully if I share it, she'll read it. She was one of my first bosses. Her name was Sonia Boudreau. She's controller. She works in finance. One thing that she said to me, she said, you have the type of presence where when you say something, it can intimidate others. And you're so young and you don't know that you have this yet, but I see that in you. And I was like, what is she talking about? Like, this is creepy. Like, am I in some type of, psychic reading network? Like, but nonetheless, even as she represented herself, I saw how other people would, straighten up and just, be back in the laptop, sitting position and just doing their work. And that has a lot to do with the quality of what you put out there and the expectations that you have within others, that you could instill fear and power all at the same time being a woman. That was rare. And that happened earlier on in my corporate career. I was about 23 at the time. So that kind of led, that was the mentality I had going forward. So that gender inequality didn't exist in my mind because she told me I could do anything,
Yeah.
And that has really helped me be able to speak up when, it was appropriate. And to use my gender to my own advantage when it was appropriate too, because there are times which you need to come from a compassionate place, and you need to be empathetic. And that's, even prevalent in my own personal marriage, which would be my other mentor, my husband, Hayden Williams III. He's definitely been a great mentor in my life, and just understanding, how you could work together with a person and how someone so completely opposite from you, but the most manliest of man could also have a soft side, and the most feminine of women can have a very aggressive side. So we measure in size differently. He's 6'1", I'm 5'4", 120, he's 220. So it's a mirror, but at the same time, he shows me how he leads, without an iron fist, but just through his actions. And that has cast a great shadow for me to follow. So 2 mentors, to my partner in life, and then my first boss.
A little shout out. Woo! That's awesome.
I
I
never
love
give him a
that.
shout out, but hey, it's a good day.
I love it. I love it. Well, you know what? Thank you so much for being on the show. How can people find you?
Yes, please visit us, www.sv-NED.com. Send us an email, info@svned.com. You know, if you want to learn about what we're doing in tech, how we can help you with your startups. We're in Silicon Valley. We're in emerging economies. We represent founders from different walks of life. We help you manage your startup process through what we're pitching your startup to investors and get you in front of the right people to get your projects funded. So definitely reach out to us. We would love to hear from you. And thank you, Stacy.
Yay, this
Being
was
a
so
great host.
awesome. Yay. Well, again, thank you so much. And this is Stacy McKibben with the Master Communicator podcast. For more ideas and insights, please do go check us out at www.concilioteam.com. We look forward to seeing you again next time. Take care. Thank you so much.